Hey guys, Hikari here, and in today's video I wanted to give my thoughts on how strong I think God from One Punch Man is, and with the Saitama vs Garou fight being finished, I think it makes sense for us to go over just how powerful he was, while also taking into consideration that all of these feats are technically not really him fully manifested and that they're actually just him using Garou as a sort of proxy to fight for him. So we have to consider the fact that he's going to be a lot stronger than what was shown through Garou. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. I want to start the video off by talking about the first instance of God's power being shown in the manga, and that was through Homeless Emperor. And Homeless Emperor started off as just a regular homeless person until he is bestowed powers by God, and these powers are able to turn him from a seemingly weak regular homeless man into a disaster level dragon being that technically nobody in the manga was really able to beat, and he was instead taken out by God's hands himself. So this really just shows the level of power that getting bestowed just a fraction of his strength can do to someone, to turn a regular human being, not even a fighter, not an A-class hero, just a regular person that doesn't know how to fight, into an S-class being. And it's honestly very telling just how powerful he is by the fact that just him giving a little bit of that power was able to let this dude fight on par with other S-class heroes. It was a very difficult fight for all of them, and he really was technically never kind of defeated by them. Our second example of God's strength in the story is him bestowing power onto Garou, and this is where we really get the greatest implications of his strength. We have to remember that everything Cosmic Fear Garou does isn't necessarily through his strength alone, and most of that strength comes directly from the fact that he was bestowed powers by God. Awakened Garou on his own, I would say, would put him at a level where he was kind of implied to be continental to even Earth level, since he was kind of like messing with the Earth's core when he was hitting Saitama, but he was definitely not going to be as powerful as he is right now. I'd say that Awakened Garou, so pre-Cosmic Fear Garou, would honestly be at a very similar level to Boros, and I think they'd kind of be like in the same league, the same strength of power, that they would just fight a little bit differently, where Garou is more technical and Boros is more just about, raw power, speed, and strength. So I think they're very comparable up until the time where he gets the Cosmic Fear mode. And of course, as we all know, Cosmic Fear Garou is way above this, and it's all due to God's intervention. In the previous example, we see just how powerful a regular person becomes when bestowed power by him, but when it comes to somebody already as powerful as Garou, the increase in strength was so exponential. So much so that Garou at that level would have easily destroyed Earth if he was still there, which is why he kind of had to be forced away from Earth so quickly by blast. There's no way Earth would have survived the attacks and the feats that him and Saitama were doing. And through these multiple examples, I think it becomes very clear that the more powerful a person is, when they're bestowed that power, the more powerful they become with his power, which is very similar to the concept of monster cells by Orochi. So it's kind of similar where like Orochi's monster cells would make you way stronger as a monster if you're already strong, and we see that from people like Bakuzan. The scariest part about all of these examples of him bestowing strength is that we haven't even seen him fully manifest and show off his powers. We've only seen bits and pieces of his powers through him sharing it with others as a sort of proxy. So we still haven't seen him fully manifest, fully fight, and use those powers himself, and he's already implied to be this strong, at least on like multiple planet level through Garou. So he's very, very strong. And if only a fraction of his strength was given to Garou and allowing him to fight on levels where he's surviving Saitama in space, surviving planetary level attacks, and basically just moving so fast, I think it's very telling just how powerful he himself will be whenever he fully shows up in the story. And we can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that he's going to be disaster level God, and it makes so much sense, and there's no reason why he wouldn't be. He's a being that is able to fully mess with Earth, and that's what the criteria to be a disaster level God is. You have to be a being that can really put all of humanity in danger, and he definitely fits that criteria for all of that. I also think we can agree that he's definitely going to be the final villain in the end of the story, and I think he's very much going to be Endgame. And I don't see anyone else being a better candidate for the final villain in the story than God himself, and I don't think anybody really has as much implied strength as him, at least currently in the story, but obviously things could change in the future. But I definitely do think that he's going to be the end game of the story, and that his strength, when it fully manifests, is going to be something to be feared. We're also going to bring up something that's a little bit off topic from at least the disaster level or the strength of God, but I do think it's weird that Blast himself kind of has powers that are very similar to him. You know, with the warp gates, you know, the energy stuff, I think it's very similar to God. So I don't know what that really is implying. I don't know if that means that Blast is kind of like somebody that maybe stole power from him, but he isn't able to have it taken from him, like Homeless Emperor. But I definitely do think it's weird that his powers are very similar to God, and it seems like he's just a regular human being. So for him to have these weird, you know, energy powers and like that, you know, without the use of electronics, it seems weird that he would even be able to do all of those without having some sort of person kind of giving it to him, which could be God. And we see that his whole team actually is able to use these different energy powers, since when they were trying to send Saitama and Garou away, you know, he had his team kind of help him out, you know, gathering energy. So I think it's just very weird that he does use similar powers to him, but maybe we're going to get like an explanation of this later on in the story. But for right now, we just don't know why he's able to kind of use these energy powers that are very similar to God. We see that he was using like warp gates, and obviously Garou, with that implied power, or with the power that was given to him, was doing some of the same stuff. So I think we should definitely look out for Blast and see what he does later on in the story. I think this about wraps things up, and in conclusion, I think God is definitely going to be that disaster level God, and he's the best candidate for the final villain in the story for Saitama. And I definitely want everybody to let me know if you feel the same way, or if you think maybe someone else will be the final villain. Also, like the video if you liked it, and subscribe, as it really does help me out, and I appreciate each and everyone who subs to the channel greatly. I want to thank everyone for watching this video, and I'm out. Peace.